became, lifelong surfers. And, these days I see it even now with my store, like people come in and go out. Some guys stop surfing, some guys keep surfing. I feel like that whole crew, like everybody still surfs because everyone has such fond memories from back then. But then going forward, it's like after we saw my partner Dave worked at Lido, he kind of saw the demise coming. They for whatever reason, and he was like, we should open a store. And like, all right, let's open a store. I had no clue, no retail experience, no real life experience really. And then we just kind of like scraped up a couple pennies and opened a store, and then basically kind of like kept that philosophy and, just wanted to build a scene or kind of like create a scene and then encourage people to like hang out. Like we just wanted to hang out, surf, and then make a few bucks and hopefully be able to surf more. And that's kind of like, boiled down to its utmost, most basic thing. That's Unsound.
Yeah. I mean, I've also been at your store, and seen how your artwork leads to other like grassroots events. You've had exhibitions in the back of the store, showcasing different artists from all around Long Island. Are you still doing that? Are you still curating exhibitions there with other artists involved?
Yeah, every year we do that. We didn't do it this year, obviously, because of the pandemic, but we're very much still kind of interested in doing that going forward if things pan out with the pandemic. But yeah, the first couple of years we just did it, and it was kind of like I did some, and then we asked some other surf photographers, and then just kind of like we kind of like I don't like putting stuff in it. I like to be able to kind of use the store to help other people, other artists to kind of like get some notoriety or notice or whatever they're looking to get out of it. And then it's, ultimately we try to raise some funds for charity through that. But yeah, hopefully next year that will be back.
Yeah. Well, that kind of leads me to something else that I think has always struck me about like you and Unsound. And I think it speaks a lot to just the kind of like tight-knit fabric that Long Beach has. Long Beach is very Long Beach. Everyone knows everyone, and if you hang around there long enough, eventually you become embedded in that community. And I know you and I were talking a lot about like Hurricane Sandy, and if you talk about a galvanizing moment, I think that was, in my lifetime, that was it for Long Beach. And I know that you were impacted. I know many people were impacted. I know your business was impacted, but you guys kind of like were able to weather that storm. What were you able to do to kind of get yourself back on the ground, as a business, maybe creatively yourself? What were you able to do for the community?
Yeah, well, Sandy definitely for me personally was for me, I feel it was the single most defining moment of my adult life as far as like just everything financially and like just me understanding the way the world works, I guess, a little bit. It was basically a clean sweep. So at that time we had Unsound, as we did. We had the Quicksilver store in Oceanside. Both of them got flooded. My house got flooded. I lost both my cars. It was like full on clean sweep for me. But it definitely, like, I don't want to say I wouldn't trade it. I definitely would trade it. I'd do a lot of things different, if I could go back in time to the day before that and I knew what was going to happen. But at the same time, I feel like it was an unbelievable learning experience for me, personally and for the business and everything. So, it's, I love hate with Sandy, but yeah, as far as the business though, is like, it took us many, many years. It's like people don't, when they're kind of looking in from the outside, whether it be, someone, a customer, or even like a supplier. So literally we're talking a store that we have like $200,000 in inventory roughly at any given time. Clean sweep, all gone. So you got to figure, but now you have basically no money. You have to build all that inventory back up. And then, it was even more because if you include the Quicksilver store, and that was a whole other thing because that's like a license of Quicksilver. So there's all these like weird rules that we could and couldn't do. So anyway, long story short, it's like it takes a long time for a business to recoup from that, a small business to recoup from that size loss. And it took us many, many years to kind of like get back on our feet. And I feel like last year was like really the first year that since Sandy, that the store was kind of like in a healthy kind of, place. So, whatever, it actually kind of forced us to learn how to run it even more efficiently. Like pre that, it was like in the 90s, the surfing boom and everything like that. There was a lot of room for leeway, buying wrong product or this and that. Whereas after Sandy, when we really, money was tight and we were trying to like get back to our, healthy inventory level, you learn a lot and you learn fast. So, good and bad. So I feel like the store is in the best place it's been in a long time, as far as, financially and kind of like with a, it just is as better than it's been in a long time. I guess I'll leave it at that.
It's funny, like Chris, have you ever listened to like NPR? They have these like, I think Kai Ryssdal does, I think it might be Kai Ryssdal. He does this spot called How I Built This. And sometimes he has like business owners come on and they start, or they'll have like, the guy who like created this like amazing piece of engineering, I feel like when we're talking with Mike that like we're in like this, like how I built this moment.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, at what point did you decide to jump in though and be like you said you're with your buddy, you're like, you're going to dive into surfing as a, surf industry as a career. Like, how young were you? Because it's almost like deciding to make art or something like that, where you're like, it's probably pretty naive.
Yeah. I was 26, right around, I was just turning 27 when we opened the store. And yeah, when he came to me and said that, I was just like, yeah, like honestly, it was like probably like saying yes, but not thinking it would ever happen. And not even thinking that it would be like a career for me, just thinking that it was like someplace for me to go hang out. Like literally it was like almost, I don't want to say it was sort of as a joke, but it was almost just like, all right, I'll do it, whatever. It's like, and then we opened, we had 4 surfboards, and I remember we had like 2 face outs. So basically like 2 t-shirts, and then 2 pairs of shorts below it, and then like some wax, a few leashes, and that's it. Like literally you're talking about a 1,200 square foot store with like, 100 items in it. And I don't know how, because we both have 0 experience and we're both kind of retarded, but we made it, we built it up to like a decent business. It's like, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. We're sitting here talking about like, art and design, and I've thought about how, the creation of a business is part of your creativity, and your creativity is also directly tied to your photography. And I know that you and I have had a conversation, and I thought it was very interesting, where you were saying that like one couldn't exist without the other. How your photography keeps you connected to the shop, and the shop keeps you connected to your photography. And through that, you're also able to cultivate young talent and support up and coming surfers. So can you talk about that kind of like dovetailing or synergy between your creativity and your business acumen?
Yeah. So I guess like the main advantage I've had over many other, or pretty much all, East Coast or any surf photographer for real, is that, the business or the surf shop allows me or introductions with certain people, whether it be people in the industry or other surfers, or even like kids in the community. So, over the years with the store, especially, we've, done the Unsound Pro and constantly bringing in, for me personally, like in the very, very beginning, it was like, when we kind of decided to do it, I was like, yeah, let's do a pro surfing contest, because I'm going to get these pros to come to me and I'll be able to take pictures of them and sell the pictures.
Right.
And like, stupid, but whatever. that was kind of one of the thoughts in my mind. So, you know, fast forward over 20 years, like we've had like everybody come to that contest. Like John's been to that contest, like you name it. Like there's been pretty much every guy through for it. So it's kind of like allowed me to be able to kind of like get these introductions to some of these guys who I never would have talked to ever. And then go shoot with them or this and that. And then on even, you know, more basic level, the level that I like is like just the local thing. You have guys that like surf really well and then end up kind of like hanging out at the shop or whatever. I.e., you know, I guess the biggest thing would be Balaram. Like the kid literally grew up in the store. Yeah. I almost feel like I'm like, you know, a father figure type to him, or, you know, or a brother, or whatever you would say. More like a father because I'm older than him, but, you know, allowed me to kind of be with, you know, have access to him on any swell. So literally, you know, I talk to Ball pretty much every time there's significant waves, and then I get to go shoot. And that's like a huge, huge advantage over any other guy that, you know, wants to just go shoot some surfers and this and that. You know, it's a good thing.
At what point did you know that he was going to be something a bit different? Like I remember seeing him as a younger kid out there and being like, oh, he's pretty good. And then there was like a tipping point.
Yeah. I would say I knew he was going to be like something like way better than your average guy around when he was like 9 or 10.
Really?
So, yeah. So I've seen him at the place that doesn't break anymore. So I guess I can throw the name out there. Point Lookout.
Lookout.
Yeah.
Love that spot. Yeah.
Awesome old shore break spot. And that's where Balaram grew up. And I have pictures of him when he's like literally 9, tiny. The kid was so small, with, you know, this old ass yellow board that was way too big for him, duct tape nose, and then a Quicksilver sticker. He wasn't sponsored by Quicksilver at the time, over the duct tape. And he was literally going like, you know, if you watch Kelly Slater is like off the bottom and then redirects back into the pocket and is always in that, like that power source. And then kind of like, that's how he does his turns. Ball at 9 was literally going off the bottom and then straight up into it and like falling a lot, but you could just see it was like he was, you know, just about there.
He knew where to be.
Or by the time he was like 12, he was like landing those things. And then like, it was like 12, 13, 14, you just knew he was full next level.
Wow.
But you can see it from early on.
Yeah, so when I was around there, it was kind of a nice time in the 90s where, like, you had mentors as opposed to surf schools teaching you how to surf. It was more like the older guys who kind of, like, I was over at Rick's surf shop all the time, if you remember that spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember Rick's, for sure.
And, like, I think it was, like, Toby and Tyson Faffy and all those guys were a few years older than me, and, you know, they looked so cool, and they surfed really good, and, like, they would actually kind of take you under their wing and be like, hey, you know, this is a good spot, come out, it's going to be good. And it was kind of, they kind of kept you in your place as well. And I think that was kind of nice. I think Long Island particularly is very small. So you get a lot of this, like a separation of like 2 people versus 5 or whatever they say.
Yeah.
And it's nice to hear that Lido and Long Beach had a similar kind of environment where, like, you said, a bunch of like young rat kids hanging out of the shop that wound up being pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We have
same thing about Bunger, you know, Bunger had probably Mikey the Temp, the guy out of there, you know, like.
Yeah. Great crew over there. So, but yeah, we were lucky. Like when we kind of like got going after a few years, we kind of got a little bit more legit in the shop as far as getting, you know, I guess a little busier and some product and this and that. You know, basically, I personally contribute a lot of the surfing success of Balaram and then some of the other guys to, like, when our second contest, we had Ryan Carlson come through. And a lot of people may not know who he is, but back in the day, he was like a surfing phenom. Basically, when he was like 13, 14, he was like bid on by like every major company, Billabong and Quicksilvers. They were kind of like trying to get him. Just unbelievable surfer. Anyway, he came out to the Unsound Pro, and he has like a very, you know, crazy, tormented like home family life. It's like he's definitely had some hard times in his life, and